Hi guys, this is Minus calling. Today I do something different. It's very weird. I'm monitoring my voice, and there are some bad habits when I monitor it. I realized it's coming from behind, right? There's a delay, and it's very confusing. Maybe I can disable it, but now I put some voice filter, so there will be less noise, background noise. I think you will hear more my voice clear. Let's see what is going today's topic. We go to developer path, and then wait a minute. I have to find this first. Lately, we learned Microsoft Graph API. I think that was the end of authentication authorization topic. We can now switch to implement secure Azure solutions. Yes, Key Vault, implement managed identities, implement Azure configuration. Let's start with Azure Key Vault. Is it good? Is it readable? Okay, we can make it a bit more bigger. I don't prefer for myself, but okay. Can get it or so. Maybe I can reduce my monitor. Monitoring sound, volume 100%. No. Okay, let's ask ChatGPT how to fix this. Yeah, I think I fixed it. I just lowered the volume. Sound. Yeah, let's start with explore Azure Key Vault. The Azure Key Vault service supports. Okay, I'll just put my headset off. Okay, it's not needed. Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault service supports two types of containers. Supports two types of and manage hardware security modules and manage hardware security module HSM. Support storing software and HSM backed storing software and HSM backed managed HSM pools. Only support HSM backed keys. Only support HSM backed keys. Okay. They only store HSM backed keys. Azure Key Vault helps solve the following problems. Helps solve the following problems. Key management, certificate management. Lets you easily provision, manage, and deploy public, private layer, transportation layers, for use with Azure and internal, connect resource, two service tiers, standard, standard with the software key and premium tier, standard and premium. Which includes hardware protected keys. Premium includes the see a comparison between the standard and tiers. See keyboard pricing page. First. Oops. I just accidentally closed it. Let's take some notes. About the price. There are two pricing tiers. Let's first create the page for Key Vault. Okay. This is not only Key Vault. Is it Key Vault? No, Azure. Secure Azure Solutions. Secure Azure Solutions. App configuration. Identities. App configuration. Implement solutions. Secure Azure Solutions. Now I should delete it. Yes, our title will be secure. Azure Solutions. Key Vault. Managed identity. What else? App configuration. app config. Okay, let's start again. Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault. Secret management, key management, certificate management. I'm trying to summarize the first paragraph. So tiers, standard and premium. Tiers, standard and premium features. Secret management, key management, secret management, key management, certificate management. Yes, that's all. And there are two types of Azure Key Vaults and Azure Key Vault vaults and store only HSM backed keys. Azure Key Vault is a cloud service, helps tool supports two types. Key features. I think this part was interesting. Actually, this is already a summarization of a lot of information here. We know what is Key Vault. We know what is Key Vault. What is it for? The first thing you should know. It's very important. It's very important. Key benefits of using Azure Key Vault. Centralize the application secrets. Centralizing application secrets. Azure Key Vault allows you to control the distribution. For example, instead of apps code, you can store it securely. Apps code, application can securely access key information. Application can securely access the URIs. These URIs allow application to retrieve specific. Okay, centralized application secrets. Centralized application secrets. Every secret of multiple. Multiple application secret. Multiple application place probably stay in the same place probably can securely store scripts and keys. Securely store scripts and keys requires proper authentication. Before a caller, user application can get access. Authentication is done by Entra. Authentication is done by Entra. Might be done via Azure role-based access or Key Vault access or Key Vault access for both management of the vault stored. Key Vault access policy can only be used when access data stored in a vault. Access data stored in a vault. Either software protected or with the Azure Key Vault Premium tier. Software protected. Hardware security modules. Very good. Monitor access and use. Monitor activity. You will have control over your logs, might secure them by restricting access, and you no longer need Azure Key Vault. Archive can be to a storage account. Stream to an event hub. Logs to Azure Monitor logs. Send logs to Azure Monitor logs. Log analytics. Event hub. Storage account. Why man? This is unnecessary. Some unnecessary features. Simplified administration of applications. Security information. Must be secured. It must follow a life cycle. And it must be highly available. By its process of these requirements by removing house knowledge of hardware security modules. Scaling up on a short notice. The organization uses Spike. Replicating in contents of your data protection ensures high availability. Ensures high need of any action from action from administrator to providing failovers. Providing Azure administration option. Automating certain tasks. Purchase certificates from public CA, such as enrollments. Discover Azure Key Vault best practices. Authentication. Manage identities for Azure resources. When you deploy an app on a virtual machine in Azure, you can assign an identity to the virtual machine that assign identities to other Azure resources. The benefit of this service isn't managing the rotation of the Azure automatically rotates the service created with the identity secret. We recommend this approach as a best and certificate. You can use and certificate and associated certificate that we don't recommend this approach because the application owner or developer must rotate the certificate. Service principal and secret. Almost you can use authenticate. Service principal and secret. Although you can use service principal and secret. Authenticate the key vault. We don't recommend it. It's hard to rotate the bootstraps. Authenticate the key vault. Basically, it says use manage. Encryption of data in transit. Azure Key Vault enforces protocol to protect data when it's traveling between Azure Key Vault client negotiation, TLS connection. Azure TLS provides strong authentication privacy and integrate enabling detection of interception and for interoperability ease of deployment and use. Perfect forward secrecy. Connections. Customers. Microsoft Live services by unique keys. Also use RSA based. 248-bit. 2048 bits. Encryption key length. This combination makes it difficult for someone to interrupt and access data. Azure Key Vault best practices. Use separate key vaults. Use separate key vaults. Recommended using a vault application per environment. Vault per application per environment helps you not share security across across and also reduces the threat if there is control access to your vault. Control access to your vault. Key vault data is sensitive. Key vault data is sensitive and business critical. You need to secure access to your allowing only authorized applications and users. Backup. Create a regular backups of your vault. Logging recovery options. Turn on soft delete options. Turn on soft delete if you want to guard against protection. If you want to guard against forced deletion of the secret. Okay. Authenticate to Azure Key Vault. Authentication with Key Vault works with Microsoft Entra ID, which is responsible for identity of any given script. Security principle is anything that Azure resources. This includes users, groups, for applications. There are two main ways to manage identity. Use and manage identity. Azure creates register the app manually. It's recommended to use system science. Application to Key Vault in application code. Key Vault SDK is using Azure Identity Client Library. Allows seamless authentication to Key Vault across environments. With the same code. Let's read over again. Key Vault SDK is using Azure Identity Client Library, which allows seamless authentication to Key Vault environments with same code. Cross environments. Following table provides information about the Python. Let's check the Python version. Azure Identity Library, client library, version 4.Python version 3. Azure Identity Library provides token authentication across the Azure SDK. It provides a set of Azure SDK. Token clients, token credentials, supports token credentials, supports token info. Token credentials. Get token. Tenant ID scope. Exactly. Claims. Which can be used SDK client. Azure SDK client. Microsoft Entra token that supports Microsoft Entra token authentication. Azure Identity. Authentication. I also see Azure Identity, right? Package Azure Identity, right? I prefer Python, but I am also familiar with .NET. I think more familiar than Python. I don't know. It's because of the Microsoft. Always the examples in .NET. When debugging and executing code locally, use their own accounts for developer to use their own authentication or authenticating calls to Azure services. Yeah, the Azure Identity Library. Yeah, the Azure Identity Library through developer tools, authentication through developer tools, authentication via the Azure defaults, Azure credentials, Azure credentials, and can authenticate as the user signed into the Azure CLI. Sign into Azure CLI. Sign into Azure CLI. Run login. Login. Azure credentials and Azure CLI credential. Exit login. Authenticate. Azure Developer CLI. To authenticate. Applications Azure default Azure credential, Azure default Azure credential, CLI credential, Azure developer, then use CLI credential. Count then use this in their application when running locally. Azure developer CLI, run the command. For users running on a system with a Azure Developer CLI browser, Azure Developer CLI browser for system to authenticate users without the default browser. AZ login, use device code. Login, use device code. Command uses the device code authentication flows. Yeah, there are three main authentication flows. Device code, client flow, server flow. This is server flow. In this flow, backend, which is a server, who has the secret, and does the communication with the authentication API. Let's say not the main actor, but also part of the solution. Okay, that's also part of the solution because you cannot trust the client. You cannot trust the client, which is code, for example, a website or something. For example, a website. User itself involves in the flow. The user has to fill credentials. It's interactive. So this is one. The second one is client flow. Now again. The application is clients, but this time the application can store passwords and stuff. Enclosed environment, so it can be in this case. We don't need a user interaction to fill in the password. Simpler version. It's called client because it's basically client of authentication, right? API, right? And and our client in this case, backend application is the backend application, not the browser, not the user. Browser or previously they were called client. Now the backend is called client, but now the backend is client. So the backend makes the request to IP. The backend makes the request to IP usually with the password API, usually with the password, the token, and solves the issue. And solves got authenticated. Got authenticated with the device code. With the device code, is a bit complicated, I think. Let's make ChatGPT explain it. Device code flow. For devices. Yes, IoT devices. Yes, IoT devices. And they also store the secrets and make the call, but store the secrets. What is the main difference then? Device request a code running on the device, asks the authentication step running on device. Running on device authentication asks for a device code and a verification for a device code and a verification user is prompted. User is prompted. The device is not trusted again. The device is not user is prompted. Device shows a message. User is prompted. Device shows a message like, okay, enter this code. Now the user don't need to fill the password in it, but more it gets the code from email or some authenticated already authorized device. User authenticates on another browser. User separate device enters the browser. User enters the code and signs in. Device, yes. The device, all of us know how to log in into YouTube on TV, right? And you click the sign in button, but then you requested to fill some code, requested to fill in your phone, then you fill the code in your phone, then you fill the code TV, then it gets authenticated. In that case, your phone is already authenticated device. So that gets the code, then you fill the code in the TV, then you fill the code in the TV, then the TV also get authenticated. That's the code. That's the flow. Device code, device flow. Yeah. Default Azure credential. Simplifies. Where were we? Yes. And Python. Authenticate in PowerShell. Connect. Learn PowerShell. I don't want to learn PowerShell. Credentials. Key concepts. Credentials. Default Azure credentials. Simplifies authentication while developing apps that deploy to Azure by combining credential used environment with credential used in local environment. Examples. Azure identity. Again, this is Python. Azure storage blob. Azure service, default Azure credential, default Azure credential, then you give default Azure credential to Azure service client. Enable interactive authentication with Interactive browser credential false. Interactive browser credential by default false. Interactive authentication is disabled. By default interactive authentication can be enabled with the keyboard argument. With the keyboard argument exclude when enabled. When enabled, default Azure credential defaults back to interact authenticated authenticated device web browser when no other credential is available. When no other credential is available. Specifying managed identity client ID. Managed identity client ID. Azure client ID. Azure client ID. What? Define a custom authentication flow with chain token credential. Define a custom authentication flow. Define a custom authentication flow. Define a custom authentication. Define a custom is generally the quickest way to authenticate. You can create a customized chain. You can create a customized chain to be considered. Credentials to be considered. Chain token credential enables user to combine multiple. Enables user to combine multiple. Define a customized chain of. To define a customized chain of credentials. Async credential. Async credential. This library includes a set of async API to use a set of credentials API to use async credentials in Azure identity. First install the async transport. Async credentials will be closed when they are no longer needed. Each async credential is a context manager. Closed method. Finds an async closed method. Credentials close. Async with credential. Async with this example demonstrate authentication with a secret client from keyboard secrets. With the managed identity support. Managed identity authentication is supported via either default supported credential or managed identity credential or managed identity credential for the following Azure services. Managed identity credential. Okay, secret client, managed identity credential, managed identity credential, client ID. Client secret, key vault and credential. Secret client. Okay. Secret client. Okay. Yeah, probably if you have the manually created app registration, then you have. Otherwise, you can use default. Default Azure credentials. Look like this. Look like this. Probably it will use the managed identity. With the system aside, yeah. Let's see. With the system identity, managed identity. You don't need to specify the client ID. Okay. Can be done by the managed identity. Cloud configuration. Let's summarize this. Okay, let's summarize this. Identity library provides focus of authentication for SDK. It simplifies access token management, simplifies access token management, storage and more. Services like Key Vault, storage and more. Getting started. Install Azure Identity. Getting started. Requires Python Azure Identity. Requires Python authentication methods for local environment. For local environment. Azure Developer CLI. Azure Developer CLI. PowerShell. Authentication flows. Default Azure authentication flows. Unified Azure credential chain for local credential chain for local environments. Deployed environments. That's the default Azure credential. Default Azure credential is the key. Unified credential chain for local and deployed environments. Credential chain for local and deployed environments. Unified. Chain token credential custom. Chain token credential custom. Device code flow. Supports device code or terminals with no browser devices or terminals with no browser credential types. Credential types. Simplified development and default. Simplified development environment credential. Environment using credential. Managed identity credential. Managed identity credential. Authentication using environment variables. Authentication using environment variables. Authentication with managed identity. Authentication with managed identity. Very good. Device code credential. User device code credential. User authentication browser enabled devices. On browser enabled devices. Azure CLI credential. Azure CLI credential login. Authentication with Azure CLI login. Azure Developer CLI. PowerShell. PowerShell. This is a good table. This is a good table. .NET, huh? .NET, huh? You see? This is more detailed, man. This is more detailed, man. Visual Studio. CLI. Azure login. CLI. Have launched the browser for you. Have launched the browser for you. Login. Use device codes. Azure login. Use device codes. Azure Identity SDK. Azure Identity SDK. Azure Identity. That's not the SDK, but that's not the SDK. Credential types. Credential types. Azure Identity credential. Azure Identity credential types. In Azure SDK, right? In Azure SDK, right? Azure Identity. Azure Identity. Very good. Very good. Let's continue. Let's continue. Authentication to key vault with REST. Authentication to key vault with REST. Access tokens must be sent. Access tokens must be sent. Using HTTP header. Service using HTTP header. Okay. Okay. Says put. Says put. When an access token isn't, when the service rejects a token, isn't supplied over HTTP 401. HTTP 401. Error is returned. It includes www authentication header, for example. www authentication header, for example. Yeah, gives some heads up for how to do the authentication. Parameters on the authentication and resource. Authentication and resource. Authentication and resource. The name of the resource. The name of the resource. To use in the authorization. The authorization. Okay, very good. Meaningful. Okay, very good. Meaningful. Exercise. Exercise. We will skip the exercise. You can do it later. Module assessment. Module assessment. Check your knowledge. Check your knowledge. Check your knowledge. Check your knowledge. Which of the methods of authenticating to Azure Key Vault recommended for scenarios. For most scenarios. Manage identity. Recommended. Which of the below methods of authenticating to Azure Key Vault is recommended? Azure Key Vaults protect data when it's traveling between Azure Key Vault and clients. Azure Key Vault and clients. What protocol does it use for encryption? What protocol does it use for encryption? Cursor gets the presentation. Cursor gets the presentation. Very good. Congratulations. Very good. Congratulations. Very good. Congratulations. 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 Now we are going to continue with the second topic. In the next video.